A pleasure to meet all at last, and we once again bring about a new section of HJN Super Graphics, but what I'm going to talk about for 2575 will in fact be a remake of a highly acclaimed Pac-Man duology, which eventually evolved into a trilogy by some time. Pac-Man World Repack is a September 2022 installment that we had gotten as a remake of the original Pac-Man World, which was released in 1999/2000 for the PlayStation. Yeah. Namco Home Tech was originally responsible for handling the likes of the series, especially with the first three games. You have Pac-Man World 2, Pac-Man World 3, and now you got this, which of course was made possible thanks to the collaboration of Bandai and Namco, simply titled Bandai Namco. And for the record, they were basically the video game equivalent to Disney and Pixar, or possibly even the likes of other collaborations. Basically, joint partnerships or even full-on marriages between different companies result in a unique power, the likes of which we'd never seen before. I mean, with Disney and Pixar, it's one thing, but Bandai and Namco to come together, two uniform Japanese, highly acclaimed companies, who would have thought they'd do so well? I mean, they made such great masterpieces over the years, like various Dragon Ball games, Elden Ring, the Dark Pictures series, and honestly, with Namco being the original owner of Pac-Man, it made sense for them to go to the roots of one of their most beloved franchises that have been around for, at the time, 42 years. But in terms of the main story, Pac-Man World Repack is in fact a remake of the very first Pac-Man World, which came out in '99, and is in fact meant to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of Pac-Man. It in fact tells us a story of how one day on Pac-Man's 20th birthday, his family, known as the Pac family, come around, including the likes of Pac-Son, Pac-Wife, Pac-Grandpa, Pac-Dog, etc. However, Ghost Island is their native homeland. And if there's one thing that is especially clear here, the ghosts are not here to play around. No, in this case, they actually kidnap Pac-Man's whole family. And when he returns to find nobody at his party, he suspects that there is something wrong. A kidnapping is ensued, and he's out on a mission to rescue all of his family members. The whole game does center around collecting every family member, and you explore 5 different worlds, encounter 5 different bosses, 2 of which you eventually acclaim 5 different members of the family. And there's many ways to get through every single stage. There's a variety of different platforming, of which that in this case it's more of the 3D variety, much like how the original gave us. But with PS4 and PS5 related technology, I feel like that they were able to give more of the graphical appeal than with the controls. But at least in this particular instance, while we don't get much in terms of trying to work on the camera, we do at least get some uniform exercise when it comes to getting Pac-Man situated in his own control function. With the most obvious controls, of course, being that he can move around with the left stick, he can charge up his spin because, in this case, he could probably run like Sonic the Hedgehog. And I guess in this instance, there's quite a bit of Sonic takeaways in this instance, but I feel like that the most important thing to regard here when it comes to a new Pac-Man related platformer is that this case, it just feels something out of the ordinary. It's definitely not like other remakes we've had in the past. I mean, Rayman Legends, for instance, that was a hell of a way to bring back the Rayman series, especially being that there hadn't been very much of him in recent years at the time. But by 2016 and 2017, when they remade him in the form of a fresh new title, it was insane what they were able to accomplish. They were able to give us the original roots of what the original Rayman series were like back in the 90s when the Jaguar and PlayStation were still at their best. But as the years went on, Some other variables relating to Rayman's control and Rayman's looks have changed quite a ways. But Legends did so much more than what even the original could have done. I mean, the difference is over 20 years apart. Night and day, if you will. But Pac-Man World Repack, unfortunately, this is one of those things that just feels a bit too simple. Like something that you would have expected to see on the PlayStation. In fact, being something that was based off of a PlayStation 1 property, which eventually turned into its own trilogy, I mean, it itself is something. Something that probably isn't really worth all the money there. And considering the fact that PS4 and PS5 games have gotten much more expensive in more recent years, I can't be quite sure exactly who is this targeted for. Is this targeted for hardcore Pac-Man fans? I suppose that would be one reason for it. And there has been other Pac-Man games that have come out since then. I mean, there was Pac-Man Museum, which I feel like was a much better example when that came out around the same time in 2022. And not too long ago, we had also gotten ourselves Pac-Man Championship Edition. I mean, that was a unique way of bringing the old Pac-Man arcade games around, which and featured 4 players that you can play up against. But Championship Edition certainly did offer a lot more than what you could expect even at the arcades. As for Pac-Man World Repack, I will at least be honest about the gameplay that I've experienced though. In my experiences, defeating all the foes, collecting all the pellets, and all the fruits as bonuses at least does hail back to when Pac-Man used to be nothing more than just a simple arcade game, but now we have expanded into a whole new horizon. It basically is at least true to its title, Pac-Man World. The subtitle Repack is more apparent than you might expect. And that at least is also true. So, honesty is certainly a big thing here, that the title and the game itself correlate to one another. But at least we can all agree on one other thing. You got the variety in backgrounds, in boss fights, and overall gameplay itself just offers up plenty of different challenges and plenty of different obstacles that you need to work with, such as using Pac-Man's running in place just to move up an elevator. I honestly feel like that really is just the perfect way to sum up the impressive connection between Pac-Man and Sonic. I mean, like I said, there's just a lot of Sonic connections that I can build up here. Apart from the pellets and fruits being similar in a way to, let's say, Chaos Emeralds and Rings, apart from the fact that most Sonic games nowadays are in the more 3D variation, apart from the fact that there's platforming that's also still involved in the Sonic series, and apart from the fact that you got unique boss battles that does require some unique strategies, as well as a variety of finesse in order to defeat them. But all of that aside, in the end, I was able to make way. A pretty good percentage of completion, plus a good variety of trophies. And with most other games, there's tons of trophies that you can possibly unlock. But for me though, I didn't even bother to replay. Although it does state that you can replay through the game itself to find whatever collectibles that you lost here, the overall gameplay on my end was just shy of 6 hours. But even if you do replay through the whole thing, it's only a possibility that 9 hours is all you'd have for completion. And in my eyes, that is way too short. And when you think about it, there's been tons of games we've had over the past 10 years or so that have gotten significantly longer. I mean, you got Diablo games, Resident Evil games, Doom games, and Transformers, whatnot. I mean, some games can possibly rival the likes of Pac-Man Repack and even sometimes surpass them because of their unique playthroughs. And also because sometimes there's lots of ways you can complete them. There's a variety of different paths you can go through. Various ways to go, a la Detroit Become Human. Or possibly even like how certain games have branching paths. Or maybe we could talk about the fact that some games have an online mode in which that it can allow you to play co-op or even competitive against various other players. I mean, just harkening back to when such franchises like the Call of Duty series, the Doom series, the Transformers games, and many others that had online modes, it sure was a unique thing. But now, we can expect online mode to be a big core curriculum for those who are really looking forward to all these new hot games out there. I mean, Black Ops 6, need I say more? Or even Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Something that we probably wouldn't have expected. Anyways, though, considering my playthrough of Pac-Man World Repack, I can't say it was that much better than the original. But then again, haven't really played much of the original. Though I did have Pac-Man World 2 and 3 for a while on the PS2. I will say that if they do plan on remaking the other two games, that would certainly be a unique piece of nostalgia. A lot of value in my life that I sure would want to have back at some point here in the present. Because more than 20 years later, I'd say they do deserve to be remade at some point. Some good stories do deserve to be retold in most ways. Going back to Call of Duty, of course, the Modern Warfare trilogy did get a unique twist in the retold series between 2019 and 2023. I'm sure they could even go so far to give us a Modern Warfare 4. I don't even have to say Modern Warfare 4 retold because there never was a Modern Warfare 4 to begin with. And so, again, there's just a lot of possibilities that I could have down the line. But for Pac-Man World Repack, it's probably only much of a 6.0 out of 10.1 based on my overall assessment. And that conclusifies yet another review that I have in terms of games that I've played, especially the ones that have been around more recently. And with that in mind, thank you very much for watching this piece. And make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.